You have watched Harry Potter 17 times. Friends, 23. You have seen The Office so many times that you know, down to the second, exactly when Jim is going to look at the camera. And somehow, tonight, you are about to press play on Season 1, Episode 1, again. Your partner thinks you have lost the plot. Your streaming algorithm gave up recommending anything new to you months ago. Your kids are begging you to watch something, anything, made in the current decade. And yet here you are, reaching for the remote, choosing the familiar over the new, for what feels like the 1000th time. So let's ask the question everyone else is too polite, or too smug, to get. What is actually happening in your brain when you choose Jim and Pam over the thousands of new shows sitting right there, waiting for you, algorithmically sorted and desperate for your attention? Because here is the short answer before we get into the long one. You are not stuck. You are not lazy. You are not out of ideas. You are in fact doing something your brain is remarkably good at, and remarkably smart to want. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you are going to understand your own rewatching habit better than most therapists could explain it to you in an hour-long session. Let's start with the obvious objection, the one your well-meaning friend brings up every single time they catch you mid-rewatch. Why would anyone watch something when they already know exactly what happens? Michael Scott is going to say, "That's what she said." We know this. We have known it since the Bush administration. Ross and Rachel get off the plane together. That particular spoiler has been public knowledge since 2004, and nobody has issued you a formal apology for that yet. So consider this. Harry defeats Voldemort. Ferris gets his day off. Nothing about the plot is a mystery to you anymore. There is no twist waiting in the shadows. There is no crime you have not already solved. And yet your brain is not bored. Your brain is not sitting there thinking, well, this is a waste of 40 minutes. I will never get back. Your brain is doing something closer to four-dimensional chess, while the rest of the world assumes you simply cannot handle change. Because it turns out that knowing exactly what happens next is not a bug in the rewatching experience. It is the entire point. It is the feature, not the flaw. Psychologists have a name for part of this phenomenon. It is called the mere exposure effect, and it sounds like the kind of dry academic term you would skim past in a textbook, until you realize what it actually explains. The more you are exposed to something, the more you tend to like it. That repetition itself breeds affection, which is a fairly elegant explanation, and also a slightly unsettling one, once you start applying it to your own life. It explains why you might feel a stronger emotional connection to a sitcom that stopped filming new episodes over a decade ago than you do to the actual human beings who live 3 doors down from you. It explains your alarmingly specific relationship with The Princess Bride, a movie you can recite from memory but could not tell someone the plot of in a single clean sentence. Because the plot was never really the point. Think about your own comfort show for a moment. Maybe it is Parks and Recreation. Maybe it is Seinfeld. Maybe it is a movie, not a show at all. And you have watched Back to the Future more times this year than you have set foot inside a gym. No judgment here. Genuinely, none. When you sit down and press play on that particular story, you are not hunting for plot twists. You are not on the edge of your seat wondering if the good guy makes it out alive. You already know he does. What you are actually doing, whether you have ever put words to it or not, is wrapping yourself in something like a cognitive blanket fort. You are constructing, on purpose, a small pocket of the world where nothing can surprise you and nothing can hurt you, at least not in a way you have not already survived once before. And that matters more than it might sound like it does, because your brain is, by design, constantly hunting for predictability in a world that offers remarkably little of it. Did your boss send you one of those emails today? The kind that is technically polite, but somehow leaves you rereading it 4 times trying to figure out what you did wrong? Go ahead and watch an episode where you already know precisely how the conflict resolves. Is a family member doing that thing again? The thing where they simply continue to exist in a way that tests the outer limits of your patience. At least, you can take comfort in the fact that Chandler and Monica end up happy. Did someone in your life just discover a personality trait? Loudly, at dinner, in front of everyone? Good thing you have every line of The Breakfast Club memorized well enough to mouth along in the dark. Here is your brain's slightly embarrassing secret in all of this. The one nobody likes to say out loud because it sounds like an insult, even though it absolutely is not one. When you rewatch something, your brain is doing measurably less work. That sounds, on the surface, like a criticism. It is not. It is the entire appeal, hiding in plain sight. When you sit down to watch something brand new, your brain switches into full detective mode, whether you ask it to or not. And who is that character, and why do they seem to know the protagonist already? Why did she say it like that? What does that lingering shot of the hallway mean? Is that a plot-relevant detail, or is it just a weird lamp the set designer happened to like? It is frankly exhausting, even when it is enjoyable. Your brain is burning real cognitive fuel just to keep up with a story it has never met before. Rewatching is the opposite of that. Rewatching is cognitive cruise control. You already know the route. You already know every turn, every stop sign, every moment where the story is going to slow down, and every moment. A study conducted by psychologist Christelle Russell examined exactly this behavior and found that when people rewatch familiar content, they report an increased sense of control and safety, a feeling that is notably absent when consuming something new for the first time. There are no surprises waiting to ambush you. There is no betrayal lurking 3 episodes in. There is no beloved character quietly being written off in a way that ruins your entire week, and possibly your relationship with the writer's room. You have already survived whatever emotional damage that story was going to do to you. This time, you are not surviving it. You are simply visiting old friends who have agreed, permanently, to never change on you. But here is where it gets stranger, and honestly more interesting, than a simple explanation about comfort and control. Because despite every appearance to the contrary, you are not actually experiencing the same thing twice. I know how that sounds. It is, technically, the identical episode. Same jokes, delivered in the same order, with the same pauses for laughter that used to be live and are now simply expected. Same will they won't they tension that you already know resolves exactly how you want it to. But you are not the same person you were the last time you watched it. You have changed, quietly, in the months or years between viewings. And that changes what the story is actually doing to you, even if the story itself has not moved an inch. Take The Lion King as an example, because almost everyone has a version of this experience with it. Watching it as a kid, you are Simba. You are the one running from responsibility, terrified of a shadow that seems bigger than you, certain the world is unfair and that you did not ask for any of this. Watching it again in your 20s, something shifts, usually without your permission. Suddenly you are watching it as Mufasa, and you feel, for the first time, a very specific and uncomfortable awareness of your own mortality, of the fact that someone, someday, is going to have to run a kingdom without you standing behind them. Watch it again later in life, and you may find yourself crying within the first 10 minutes. Not because the animation has improved, but because you finally, fully understand every single word Mufasa says about legacy, about time, about what it means to hand something down to someone who is not ready to receive it yet. The same thing happens with The Matrix. On a first viewing, it is bullet time and trench coats and a genuinely cool fight in a lobby. On a later viewing, it becomes something closer to an uncomfortably accurate metaphor for choosing comfort over an inconvenient truth, for the very human instinct to take the blue pill even when some part of you suspects the red one is waiting. And somehow, you are okay with that discomfort. Different life stage, different lens, exact same movie. An entirely new emotional door quietly opens, one you did not even know was there the first 3 times you watched it. There is another layer to all of this that almost nobody talks about, directly, and it might be the most important one, the social layer, the memory layer. Think back to when you first watched your favorite show, really watched it, before it became background noise or comfort food times. Maybe you watched it with your sister every single Thursday night, back when you actually had to be home at a specific hour to catch it live, because streaming did not exist yet, and missing it meant actually missing it. Maybe The Big Lebowski was, for one strange and specific stretch of your early 20s, essentially your entire personality. Maybe you and a college roommate watched Die Hard every December, years before it became a semi-serious cultural debate about whether or not it qualifies as a Christmas movie. These stories become time capsules, whether you are visiting a previous version of yourself, the one who first sat on that specific couch, in that specific apartment, with that specific person, before certain things happened that changed both of you. You are reconnecting, briefly and privately, with the person you were when these characters first mattered enough to memorize. And sometimes, quietly, underneath all of it, you are grieving someone you used to watch it with. The friend who moved across the country and slowly became someone you text twice a year. The parent who first introduced you to Groundhog Day on a lazy Sunday afternoon and is no longer around to watch it with you again. The ex who ruined The Notebook for you, somehow, permanently, and yet you still watch it anyway, because spite turns out to be a surprisingly durable form of motivation. Rewatching, in this light, is not only comfort, it is remembrance. It is a quiet, private way of keeping someone close through the shared experience of a story you both once loved, even after everything else about that chapter of your life has changed or ended entirely. All right, deep breath. Let's bring this back down to something a little more practical, a little more Tuesday night on the couch. Because there is also, you are, quite simply, too tired to make another decision today. Decision fatigue is a real and well-documented phenomenon. And by the time you collapse onto the couch at the end of the day, you have already made an almost unbelievable number of choices. What to eat, what to wear, which emails to strategically ignore while still appearing productive, which notifications to silence, which ones to actually respond to. Choosing a brand new show is, whether you consciously register it or not, one more decision layered on top of a day already buried in them. What if it turns out to be bad 3 episodes in? What if you invest real time and real emotional energy, only to watch it get canceled after a single season, its cliffhanger forever unresolved? What if everyone online insists it is a masterpiece, and you sit there, 40 minutes in, quietly convinced it is not? Or, you could simply put on Good Will Hunting for the 30th time, and cry, right on schedule, during the "it's not your fault" scene, like a fully functional, well-adjusted human being who has simply made peace with a very good movie. Zero risk, maximum comfort, genuinely peak efficiency, when you think about it in those terms. And finally, here is the part that might make you feel a little bit seen, or possibly a little bit called out, depending on how honest you are willing to be with yourself right now. For a great many people, rewatching functions as a form of emotional regulation. It is, in the truest sense, self-soothing. When the world feels chaotic, and let's be honest with each other, when does it not? You go looking for something stable to hold on to. Something where the good guys win in the end. Something where the jokes land exactly where they are supposed to land. Something where every loose thread resolves neatly within 90 minutes. Or 22, depending on what you have chosen for the evening. Therapist Dr. Pamela Rutledge has spoken to exactly this pattern, noting that returning to familiar, well-loved content can measurably reduce anxiety and provide a genuine sense of control over an otherwise uncontrollable day. It functions, in a very real sense, like a weighted blanket for your nervous system. Predictable emotional beats, safe sadness, the kind you can feel fully without fear of it spiraling somewhere you cannot manage. Controlled, familiar crying during that one specific scene in Toy Story 3 that has apparently never once failed to destroy an entire room of adults. So the next time someone raises an eyebrow at you for watching When Harry Met Sally for the 15th time, you now have the option of hitting them with the actual science. So the next time someone raises an eyebrow at you for watching When Harry Met Sally for the 15th time, you now have the option of hitting them with the actual science. You are not stuck in the past. You are engaging in a genuinely beneficial psychological practice, one that promotes emotional stability, provides real comfort through predictability, and strengthens your sense of identity through meaningful, repeated narrative connection. Or, if that feels like too much effort in the moment, you can simply tell them to mind their business. That works too, and frankly, it is often faster. New shows are wonderful, exploring unfamiliar stories, discovering a series nobody has recommended to you yet, following a plot with absolutely no idea where it is headed. That is one of the genuine pleasures available to us. But there is nothing wrong, nothing at all, with returning again and again to the stories that shaped you into who you are. The ones that make you laugh at a joke you have heard 400 times. The ones that make you cry even though you know, to the second, exactly when it is coming. The ones that quietly remind you who you were before life got as complicated as it currently is. Your comfort show is not a crutch. It was never a crutch. It is a companion. A small, reliable piece of consistency in a world that rarely offers you any. And if you will excuse me, I have a date tonight with Michael Scott, for what will be somewhere around the 19th time. I regret absolutely none of it.